The Watch Dogs Legion Bloodline expansion not only met my expectations, but gave me hope for the future of the franchise, that Ubisoft knows what fans want. It's a direct sequel to the amazing Watch Dogs 1 and continues the story of Aiden Pearce, who just got his long-awaited character development arc. And who'd have thought that having Wrench alongside Aiden would lead to many hilarious interactions. This is my Watch Dogs Legion Bloodline analysis. Hope you stick till the end. I'm starting off with the characters, since they are the best thing in this expansion. The main game was great for me. I luckily was able to recruit good voiced characters and stuck with them throughout the game, but I still felt disconnected, like my characters didn't have heart, passion, or went through similar pain. They weren't relatable at all, and the whole game, which could have been amazing with a fixed set of characters, wasn't like I wanted Watch Dogs to be. It fell flat. Now, with Bloodline, the heart and soul of the series came back. The most iconic characters from the series are back and left me with a strong urge to scream, "This is what I want from Watch Dogs, Ubisoft!" Aiden Pearce was the main focus of this expansion and I loved it. He's not only my favorite character from this series, but one of my all-time favorite gaming characters. He is someone who was misunderstood by a certain group of gamers in the first game, mostly by journalists who aren't even fan of the series, and they influenced Ubisoft in changing the direction and ruining what the core fans wanted in the sequel. He lost his niece and went rogue and became brutal and someone like Batman, or maybe Punisher fits his action better. Some thought that made him bland because he does not joke and he's always serious and looking for revenge. But for me and many others, that made him relatable. He doesn't stop at nothing to protect or avenge his loved ones. He was badass and had finishing moves like John Wick. Anyway, I will move on before this becomes a Watch Dogs 1 analysis video. I just wanted to point his personality change that happened in Legion by pointing out how he was previously. In Bloodline, Ubisoft was focused on giving Aiden Pearce a much needed character development, since he became older and he can't stay haunted by the death of his niece forever. He needed to get over those painful days and move on. Aiden had a famous quote from Watch Dogs 1, and I quote, "I don't look back anymore, I don't regret, I look forward." Even though this was said by him, I still feel like deep down, as shown in the PT Silent Hill type of mission that was in Bloodline, he still hasn't moved on from the death of his niece and how he handled his relationship with his sister and his nephew Jackson. I won't go into full details on how he got his character development, but the way they did it was very well written and gave him justice, and they even used Jackson to trigger what was left of his humanity to come back. They brought them closer. This expansion is a slap in the face to all the Aiden Pearce haters out there because they can't call him bland and vengeful anymore, and I love it here. Wrench, easily the best character from the second game, makes his return, and his chemistry with Aiden exceeded my expectations. He is still funny, full of jokes, but also serious when the circumstances requires him to be. Unlike his companions from Watch Dogs 2, he doesn't act like a hero during cutscenes but then goes on killing people during the gameplay sections. He is someone who wants to fight for the weak, for the people in need, and against the corrupted politicians that are in power. Still, unlike Aiden, he tries to keep it clean and as non-lethal as possible, which is reflected by the weapons he uses. Jackson has changed quite a lot since we've seen him in Watch Dogs 1. He has been going to therapy a lot and is way more sociable than before. He also knows how to hack stuff and bypass security, which helps set him up for the future. We may get to play as him in future Watch Dogs games. The only thing left for him is to learn how to fight, since he mentioned he's not used to weapons or any kind of physical brawling. Even though the main Bloodline story is good, it does seem like it's something happening in the background, since the character-driven story arcs were more highlighted and the center and heart of the expansion. That's not necessarily a wrong move by Ubisoft. I would actually say it's a great move, since they know what the fans want the most from this DLC. Most of us here were excited because two beloved characters from the series were returning. Fans were looking forward to that quite a lot, so focusing on the sub-stories for Bloodline more than the main one to the point of almost overshadowing it is great in the context of this particular case. The main story of Bloodline was about creating robots with human thoughts, which required testing on real people. There was a device called the Brock attack that facilitated the procedure. Wrench and the main villain Lampert were fighting to get it into their possession. This is where Aiden Pearce and Jackson get into the mix since Aiden got a contract from our badass Jordi from Watch Dogs 1 to steal this exact device, while Lampert threatened Aiden to harm Jackson if he doesn't give him the Brock attack back. This might be a simple story, but it was quite decent and it also had the best Watch Dogs villain, Sky Larson from Legion's main campaign, have a short appearance. The cutscenes were also really well done with high production value and great acting, regardless if it was the main villain Lampert or our beloved Aiden, Wrench or Jackson. The chemistry with our trio made it seem like they were, dare I say, a close family, something that was missing from Legion's main campaign.
Hey, Aiden. In the spirit of friendly whatever we are.
The gameplay in the main game was always considered great by most people who played it. The issue was with the play as anyone feature that either ruined the game for some or made it less appealing than it should be. Not only did the play as anyone affect the story and not getting attached to the characters we are playing with, but also in terms of gameplay by locking some mechanics or skill sets to certain character types. Bloodline fixes all that. Aiden Pearce and Wrench, who are both playable, have a wide range of powerful abilities that you really don't need any other character types. The missions don't force you to change operators to a construction worker, for example, in order to get into high places. Wrench has his special drone which can help him with that. Though I felt like Wrench's Lady Smash ability was quite weak against armored enemies and it wasn't that fun to use after a while. Aiden's Blackout makes a return. Kinda. Unfortunately, Legion's London City wasn't built around this feature in mind, so his ability was more of a huge EMP that jams all electronics in the vicinity and make cars uncontrollable. Other than that, Aiden has a special reload ability, where if timed correctly can give him a damage buff per bullet. The main missions were quite good. The one that I would like to highlight is the PT Silent Hill one that was done amazingly. I won't dive into much details on it just in case some of you haven't arrived to that part yet, but the level design in that one and how it was written was just perfect. The only downside is that some, not all missions, take place in familiar locations. So if you already played the main campaign, you might have already visited those areas. Nevertheless, Aiden and Wrench's new abilities make tackling those areas fresh, especially with the additions of new enemy types, the robots. The side missions didn't have much of a great story, except the Jordi ones that had a huge surprise, but they were still decent, and what was good about them was that they were different and unique from each other. They included some secondary characters from the main campaign, which Bloodline gave them some backstories, and completing those sides resulted in gaining new abilities and skills. Unlike Legion's main campaign, where you have to go and collect skill points in order to unlock more gameplay features, here they are bonuses that are acquired just by completing side missions, which incentivize us to play them and doesn't require us to grind or go fetch for more skill points. Bloodline is a love letter to Watch Dogs fans. It gives us hope for the future games. It reassures us that Ubisoft knows what fans want. Now we still don't know if they're gonna follow on this path, but we sure need them to do. Bloodline is an amazing experience. It has our iconic characters back. It has life and soul, characters we can get attached to, character developments, the perfect tone between dark and light, and a good variety in missions. It might have some flaws, But honestly, when you start playing the expansion and the amount of fun you gain, you forget about everything else. I even kept going into photo mode to create screenshots at every possible scenario for both Aiden and Wrench. This is how happy I was to see them return. The way it ended, it is still possible to make a Bloodline 2, which I would welcome with open arms. They could also add only side missions, resistance and fixer missions. Either ways, I would still want a new Watch Dogs game with the trio that they developed here. It would be a shame after Aiden's character development, Jackson's introduction to hacking, and Ranch's love for working with them to end here. Even Jordi still has a background that I would love visiting. Watch Dogs 4 needs them, we need them, but this discussion will be for another video. In the meantime, this is the best Watch Dogs has ever been since Watch Dogs 1. Thank you Bloodline for saving the series. Thank you guys for watching, be sure to like and subscribe for more. I would appreciate if you can give me feedback in the comments or your thoughts on Bloodline. This was Mario and see you guys in the streets of London. I mean in the next video. Or maybe in Chicago, who knows.
Done. Server's wiped. Get out of there, Pearce.
You still think this will be an easy clamp?
Oh, it needs to be. There's no way I'm letting Mr. Big Corporation win.